All right, so what CVs are best now that Hakuryu and FDR are banned? So this is going to leave, as far as tech tree ships, it's going to leave the Midway. It's going to leave the Audacious. It's going to leave the MVR, which we'll just call the Richthofen. And then as far as non-tech tree ships, it's going to allow the Immelmann. So if we look at what these four things do, the Midway is considered a generalist. So I guess we'll just go ahead and label this out. Generalist, but she is slow. So in general, this means she's going to be used for contested side situations. I'm totally spelling this wrong. There we go. Contested side situations and battleship busting. The Audacious, kind of a generalist as well. I suppose we could put that, because she is. Medium speed, she's going to be used again for contested side situations and battleship busting, but I'm going to put a star on that because she is limited by pen. So in both cases, the Midway and the Audacious don't necessarily have good cruiser pressure. The Audacious rockets don't pen heavy cruisers very well. They're pen some pieces of the heavy cruisers, but not all of them. Midway's rockets can deal with cruisers, but don't tend to deal enough with cruisers. The torps on the Midway are really slow and obnoxious. They're designed for battleships. The bombs are a large reticle designed for battleships. Audacious reticles designed for battleships. The torps are a little more capable with the cruisers. So it's like Midway has slightly better rockets for cruisers. Audacious has slightly better torps for cruisers. But in general, they're built for battleship busting and contested side situations. So what this is going to be is for trying to support your team on a contested side. That's usually where they're like four ships versus 4 ships. It's a slugging match. As far as trying to go to the opposite side of the match or deal with, pressure, oh shit, we're good here, but people are way over there and they need help. Technically, the Audacious moves faster than the Midway with its strike planes, its torps, and its bombs. So this would give you a little more offside pressure, I suppose, but the rockets are extremely slow, so that's really just going to stick close to your hull. For the Richthofen, I'm not going to label this a generalist per se, but it kind of is a generalist. So we'll say precision, a precision instrument, fast. What does this mean? So if you have a specific target that you're trying to go after in the Richthofen, you can do it precisely. You can do it precisely with rockets. Granted, there's been a rocket change. There is a small delay on the rocket, so it's not going to be as precise as it was before, but theoretically, if you're striking a cruiser that's basically sitting there waiting to get shot, it's not going to be that big of a difference. And the torps are extremely accurate. The problem is, it's the bombs are extremely not. So the bombs aren't so much a big thing. However, because of how fast she is, she's got side duality, BB threat with bombs, and we already kind of talked about the precision instrument. So unlike with the Midway and the Audacious, you have two things which are basically going to be stuck on the side that they are dealing with, because they're just a little too damn slow to really be running to the other side of the map to go try to piss out this fire or to put out that fire. Whereas the Richthofen is going to have duality of sides. Because of how fast the planes are, they're going to be able to get from point A to point B extremely quickly. So you can help your guys on the other side of the map that, oh, whoa, this is happening. Hey, we need something. They can help your contested side. However, because it's a precision instrument, it's not really a blunt hammer. You're not going to be able to slam into the contested side in the same way. You're really just going to be having to pick specific times to go in and try to chisel something or to hit something, usually on the edges, or you're going to have a lot of plane loss. And then we're going to have the Immelmann, which is not a tech tree line. This is sieging damage threat. Fast. Why do I put this in orange? because she's got a fundamentally different playstyle. Yes, you could use the Midway or the Richthofen to try to apply damage, but in general, CV damage has been kicked in the teeth. With better fighters, you have less ability to run in and just kind of beat people around. You just don't. Because the enemy CV can block you. They can. With the flak improvements in 10.1, flak is more accurate. It positions better. It covers better. So the possibility that like you're going to be running around doing stuff that you do in randoms with 150,000 damage a game every game or whatever, if you're feeling pretty good about life, it's just not going to happen against coordinated play. Not to say that it can't, but you should not expect it. However, with the Immelmann, you have what I claim as sieging damage. This means that you're going to be attacking from 8 kilometers. So let's go ahead and add this little 8 kilometers there, because that's actually very important. If you don't give the Immelmann 8 kilometers of room to be able to come in and siege you, they're going to lose planes. And while those planes are very fast, and yes, they have a fairly quick regeneration rate, you will bleed the Immelmann dry. So if you don't give it that 8 kilometers, either by placing a fighter to block that line, or you use either a friendly ship to block yourself from damage, or you'll use an island or something to block the line in to strike you, Immelmann gets crippled off that. It's not to say that she can't find ways to be relevant, but she's got to find ways to be relevant. And if you don't give her this 8 kilometer line, that's going to be a thing. She's got more of a, I'll put a generalist threat here, because she can strike anything, but it's going to be in bites and fires. She can torpedo stuff, she can deal with stuff, but in general, the big thing with this is going to be a, put this in red, damage, not support CV. So why am I saying that? Because this is only going to have 8 fighters at best. So actually we should put 6 to 8. 6 to 8 fighters, and then we'll do this in maybe blue, where we've got 8 to 12 fighters. No, 9 to 12 fighters, sorry. And we can just copy and paste this. Now, this is important because fighters got buffed. Fighters are better than they used to be. So because of this, fighters do matter. If you go up against something where you need to protect your ship, or you need to protect from an attack line on Immelmann, if you need to protect a destroyer that's trying to push into the cap that the enemy CV could fly over and light them, you need fighters. Some people are going to be using smoke to be able to cover their destroyers if they push forward to try to cap. Some people aren't going to have smoke because they just don't bring them as well. So fighters are going to be useful for capping. Fighters are going to be useful for shutting down enemy CV assistance. Fighters are going to be useful for trying to help get a wounded teammate out so they can heal and re-enter the fight. I have seen personally, Gaishu, I think, very briefly brought the Immelmann, and it was very brief. It happened once, and then it unhappened, at least as far as I saw. And basically for that first 7 to 9 minutes of the match where they had fighters, they were able to really lock down and hold areas. But as soon as that fighter threat dried up, I was able to take advantage of it because they were using the fighters to be able to play spread out, take map advantage, and exert pressure. Well, when the fighters dried up, that meant their spread out situations allowed me to come in and start pressuring them right back. Now, granted, not everybody's going to play that way, but when you're playing with the concept that fighters are going to be in this and we're going to use fighters to get ahead, you can't run out of fighters. Which means the Midway, Audacious, Richthofen are going to pull ahead in that sense. They're going to be much more supportive of the team, both through either fighter spotting, or if you're using Interceptor, just fighter protection. So now that we've kind of outlined all of this, well, what's the best? The answer is there's not a best. The answer really is the best is whatever you are best in. So if you as a player are asked, well, what are you going to play in clan battles tonight? What are you going to do? Pick the one that you suck the least in. Pick the one that you're best in, because that's the one that you're going to bring the best performance. Now, if you've got multiple CVs that you're looking at, and let's say all 4 of these, I'm pretty good. I feel good in all 4 of these. Well, then you start looking at what these options are to tell you, what is my team made of? What are we trying to do? How can I best work with my comp? If you've got an extremely high damage ship lineup, then you don't need the Immelman to run around dealing damage. That's a lot of glass cannon kind of stuff. If you're just trying to like, well, we'll just throw lots of damage at them. We'll just blow them up. Usually in situations like that, you're able to give a really good punch. You're not able to take a good punch. So sometimes this might be doubling down just a little too much in the damage department. In which case, maybe you'd want either a Midway or an Audacious so that you can use those planes to spot for your high damage ships to allow them to deal damage and win the match that way. Well, what if you're using tankier ships? You're using stuff that have more health, more armor, but lower reloads, then don't really have the damage potential. Well, you're going to need to find the damage somewhere. So maybe you need the precision of a Richthofen to be able to apply damage to a focus target. Maybe you need the damage of the Immelman to be able to siege down stuff, light fire, so that your teammates can follow up and kind of focus something down. It might be that the Midway Audacious is not enough for you. So just to once again kind of seal this off, but reiterate, pick the CV that is best for you. If you have multiple options, then look at which CVs you can play and try to make it relevant to the team comp that you're running so that you can be stronger as a whole, as opposed to just like, well, I just want to bring the best CV. Because really, there's not a best CV, at least not at this time. The only CV that is generally considered to be very weak is the Audacious, not because she is weak, but because she has low penetration. So a lot of people, when they bring a cruiser, they're going to bring heavy cruisers. Well, several heavy cruisers are limited to only 1. So you might not see as many heavy cruisers now. There might be options there. Other thing is battleships. We're seeing a lot of Columbus. It's a new battleship. People are enjoying it at the moment. Well, it's really well armored. So those battleship bombs, they're just going to shatter. We haven't seen Kremlin in a while, but Kremlin would also be very resilient. However, if you start to see a lot of Ohios, Montanas, Thunderers, Conquerors, Republics, Burgones, those are extremely susceptible to audacious bombs, and you can shred them. So it's not something that you just throw away, because it's certainly going to be a thing, but just understand the context of if you want to bring it, you have a downside in the terms of penetration.